listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
All right, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. I'm glad to be here with you, and I'm glad that you are here with us. We're going to have a great show today. It's Friday, so that's good. It's great all of a sudden. Just seemed to just sneak up on us. The week actually went by fast for me, and it is the weekend coming up. So it's always good to have the weekend for those of us that work, Monday to Friday. And the weekend is the thing. So we're live on CKLU 96.7 FM. We're streaming also online at cklu.ca. And we are live streaming at facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News. Make sure to like, share, follow, subscribe. Share is really good because it gets the word out about the show. It helps more people become involved in the conversation, which that's the reason for this show in the first place, is to have a conversation. And we will be having a conversation with yourselves today, so make sure to comment. And we'll have a special guest on, Ward 5 Councillor here in Greater Sudbury, Mike Perrott, will be joining us shortly. And so we look forward to having him right after the weather and maybe a little bit of a sports report. And we got some questions to ask him, and a conversation just see how it's been. New to council, I should say, and how it's been going for the last year, give or take. And then, little couple questions. I have questions I'll let you know right now. The arena, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I just want to give what I've been hearing from your comments and others. That way it's on, it's a way to ask questions that most people would ask if they had the opportunity to talk with a city council person. So there's the arena. There's also the traffic cameras, the speed cameras, and there's going to be 6 of them. They're coming into the city. They're going to switch them around. So we'll talk about that, why they were adopted and the decision was made to go ahead with them. That was the most shared story post that we've ever had on our Facebook page. So a lot of comments there. And then we may talk a little bit about the roads and what happened with the company that came here to fix the roads on the Kingsway, and we're told to stand down while we looked at the quality of work and the quality of the asphalt. We told them it wasn't up to Sudbury standards, and they were asked not to continue the work. And I think they are not very happy with that. And so I want to ask Mike what his opinion is on that. And then he's also wanted to get the city to look at, take an account of our process that we have when we award contracts to companies and stuff. So hopefully we have enough time even just to make it through that, because then if you have questions as well, I want to be able to make sure to get those up for Mike, and that give you the opportunity to ask him some questions as well. So I'm just letting you know what I'll be kind of talking about, so it gives you an idea to prepare, maybe if you had some questions within those subjects or others. So anyways, we look forward to that. We'll jump right in. We'll start off with some weather, some sports. We'll be back right after that with Mike Perrott, Ward 5 Councilman here in the city of Sudbury. Okay, and Sudbury weather brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. It's currently 8 degrees Celsius, and today we can expect a mix of sun and cloud, and fog patches dissipating early this morning, high of 21. UV index will be 5 or moderate. Tonight, a few clouds, fog patches developing overnight, low of 9. Saturday, mainly cloudy, fog patches dissipating in the morning, high of 22, humidex 25. UV index 5 or moderate. Okay, so it looks like a mixed bag now. The weather's always changing, so I guess this is something we can always count on. The fact that the weather is always changing, for one, and then predicting it is definitely not an easy thing. And so tomorrow, mainly cloudy, high of 22. Sunday, mix of sun and cloud, high of 22. Sunny for Monday, high of 24. And then mix of sun and cloud, 24 on Tuesday, mix of sun and cloud, 22 on Wednesday, Thursday, 30% chance of showers. Now, you remember 2 days ago, it was just sunny all across for the 6 days. And I was very skeptical, and rightfully so, because it ain't like that anymore. But here's a look at your satellite. Looks pretty darn clear to me. And you have the clouds rolling in for possibly tomorrow's predicted cloudy day. That's your Sudbury weather, brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. We'll be back. A little bit of a sports update. And then we'll have Mike Parent joining us, Ward 5 councillor here in the city. We'll be back right after this. Okay, and your Sudbury Wolves will be in action tonight for the home opener here in Sudbury. Puck drop 7:05 as usual. And let's see here. So want to make sure I have the right information in front of me. They will be taking on the what used to be the Hamilton Bulldogs, but they're now the Brampton Bulldogs. And that's, again, tonight at 7:05. And then they're also going to be taking on the Battalion on Sunday. Friday's game sponsored by Desjardins. That's tonight. They'll be on hand with prizes and giveaways. Fans are also invited to come early, take part in the pregame party. There'll be fun games, face painting, live music, and more. Then Sunday's game is Kids Jersey Day. Kids 12 and under will receive a free Wolves practice jersey. Pretty awesome. While supplies last, that is. Sunday's game marks the first Junior Wolves Sunday of the season. Fans are encouraged to bring their skates to join members of the pack for post-game skate. So make sure to get out there tonight. It's going to be a party before the game. It's going to be a great game. The Brantford Bulldogs will be in town. And then the Battalion on Sunday. But tonight, get out and support your Wolves. It'll be electric at the arena because it's the home opener, season opener for the Sudbury Wolves. So you're gonna have a great season this year. I just got a feeling for that, and we'll be on top of it here on the show with Sudbury News Talk and keep everybody up to speed on what's happening with the games if you're not able to attend. And that's your Sudbury Sports, brought to you by SudburySports.com. We'll be back with your comments and hopefully Mike Parent when he joins us, and a lot of questions for him. And we'll be back right after this. Okay, and we are back, and we have quite a few people joining us here online. I just want to get to some good morning shout-outs to Judy. Good morning. Good morning. And Monique, good morning, with a sunshine smiley emoji. Thank God it is Friday. TGIF from Denise, for sure. I'm definitely with you on that. Could use a little bit of a weekend. Good morning from Belinda. Kindness is giving hope to those that feel they are alone in this world. That is for sure. Sometimes just a smile to a stranger or anyone and a kind word can go a long way. We've been the recipients of that ourselves, and we also can spread that to others. Looks like Mike is joining on. Just have to get his camera on. It looks like it's blacked out, so I'll wait till it comes on to bring him into the meeting. Good morning. Happy Friday. That's Denise. And another Denise. Because there's more than one Denise. Oh, Danica. Sorry, Danica. Happy Friday. Heart emoji. And then Denise, we're going to train our children to destroy those cameras taxpayers pay for that crap that we don't ask for. We are going to take it down. Ooh, my goodness. Well, you picked the right show for a comment like that, I guess. We'll have Mike speak to that, and we'll see what he has to say. There is the game of chicken that the province is playing with the municipality to see who will pay for the safe consumption site for the next year. I heard that on CBC on the way in for the spot. That's the name of the safe consumption site. And good morning, by the way. Yes, Stephen, good morning. Thanks for being with us. Yeah, the province, I think it even promised that they were going to, they promised they were going to give the money to the municipality, and then not sure why they haven't. And maybe let's get to the bottom of that as well. Maybe we can ask Mike what he's heard about that. Good morning, Sudbury campers. Another day above ground is a good day. Yeah, I've heard that statement before, and I agree. Okay. Happy Friday, folks. Keep it classy. That's Brian as well. Good morning, Tracy. Sunshine emoji. Yeah. Brantford Bulldogs for sure. Not the Hamilton Bulldogs anymore. And David, good morning. Take care. Stay safe. Same to you, David. Much appreciated. Mona, good morning. Thanks for being with us. And Denise, here's the other Denise that I was speaking of before. Good morning, everyone. All have a wonderful weekend. Sunshine, smiley face emoji. Wonderful. I would like to know if he supports with this new surveillance to move towards smart cities. Okay, right off the bat. We will get to that when we talk about the cameras and if Sudbury is still on the Canadian government website list. Okay, good one. We will ask that. Wade, good morning, bud. Good morning to you, Wade. Thanks for joining us. Pass it on undercoating. I'll always give a shameless plug for you. Make sure to get your car undercoated. Fall is fast approaching. Not that you need to wait till fall to get your car undercoated. You should be doing it at least twice a year. And it's always good to do it when it's warmer. And I still have to get my cars in there, Wade. So I'll be contacting you very shortly. Now joining us, and his camera is working and his mic is working as well, is Mike. His mic is working.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, apologize. Some technical challenges first thing this morning, but glad to be here. Good morning to all your viewers and to yourself, Aaron.
Thank you very much, Mike. And we really appreciate you coming on. It's always a pleasure. We've had you on twice before, and hopefully we'll be able to have you on many more times. So let's dive right in. I just have a feel good question, not what's your favorite ice cream or anything like that, but it's been a year, give or take. I just wanted to know what kind of year it's been, first of all, and what kind of year it's been. But then I'll just give you the other three kind of sub questions, just so you know what's coming.
That's a great question. I appreciate that. I think for yourself, for the viewers, I'm just a person like you. I had a normal, I've been community oriented. I guess to some degree during the pandemic, I paid a lot more attention to municipal politics. I really didn't like a lot of the decisions being made. I could see that we were we're running towards a fiscal cliff, in my opinion, which means we were spending more money than what we could afford to spend. So I decided to run. So you go through all this campaigning and door knocking and talking to people and listening to what people want, because you're going to represent them should you be elected. And then you're elected, and then you're okay. Now I'm on the other side. And then all of a sudden you're at a table with 12 others, a mayor and 11 other councillors, and you're inundated with information, reports after reports. And I'm talking in a week, it's not unlike it wouldn't be uncommon to have 6, 7, 800 pages of reports that you're going through trying to understand, so you can come to the table and on the committees that we have to serve to represent the community. So there's a whole lot that comes on council. So I learned that, and then you learn to adapt. Okay, how am I going to manage that? But then we came in with ideas and with promises, if you will, and for me it's been really about arm wrestling about how we manage the budget, because we need to get our costs under control. I mean, you look at inflation, what that's done to common household incomes. You have families that are single income or on fixed incomes, and I know this is having an impact on. I'm not trying to be political here. I'm just trying to say, so you want to try and address the budget. And I was one of those people who sometimes would critique on social about council not doing enough. On this side, it's complicated. And what I'm trying to do, and I think some of the councillors support this, is trying to simplify the process and telling us there are 58 services we offer. I want to understand between 2019 and 2023, how much did we spend on those services in 2019 and how much are we spending in 2023? So we can kind of get at least an idea of which of these services are running away. And I think that's a big thing. So there are a few of us working hard on trying to understand where we're spending a lot of money. I don't believe there's any real corruption where there's people taking money and hiding it. It's just there's too many mechanisms to protect from that. There are just too many audits, too much oversight. So I can't see that being a reality. So I think that's the big thing. The second one for me has been, things like the Arena Event Center. It's been ongoing for 8 years. You want to deal with it, and then you find yourself without enough information to be able to make a decision. So I saw on the media yesterday people saying, "Wow, here we go again. More reports, more consultants." Hey, again, I'd probably be doing the same thing back if I wasn't an elected official. On this side, we don't have enough information to make it. We can't say, "Oh, go build a new arena," because we have no idea today what it would cost to do that. We have price estimates from the past, which are so irrelevant. It would be an extreme amount of risk. I'm of the opinion that we fix up the old arena. We spend some money in there and make it right, but we don't know if the supports, so the piles underneath it, are any good. So we need to go and find out what is the integrity of those piles, and can they last another 50 years before we decide to spend a bunch of money and then find out in 10 years that no, actually the piles are starting to crumble, and we just wasted a whole lot of taxpayers' money. So there's a lot on the table, but I think I can honestly say this, though, I work closely with a number of the members of council, and they all have the right reasons for being on council. We're working hard to make the best decision, but it's just not easy. I've said a lot. I'll pause.
Well, you kind of went into our next questions, but that's okay. I'm glad. This is going to be just a cool conversation this morning. I think it's just good for people to hear it, in this format. It's not normal that people can just have a conversation with somebody who's in with the city, all of the meetings, like you said, with the experience, reading the reports. But my next question was, what surprised you the most? And would it have been the workload? Would you have expected like 800 pages a week kind of thing, reading as part of the job?
I think the big thing is, I knew there was, if you're elected, you have to be on some committees. I had no idea there were so many committees that we have to represent. So, it is a heavy workload for people to say, "Councillor, I didn't go on council for the money. I mean, I went on really personal on a mission. I care about our community. I think most others are the same. I don't believe anybody's doing it for the amount they're paid. But yeah, I came in and all of a sudden there's all these committees that need to be filled. So, we have operations committee, hearing committee, nomination committee, community emergency services committee, planning committee. Then you have to fill all these boards: conservation, public health, airport board. And I'm missing other few. And then there's panels. So there are so many other things that council have to support that now we look at each other and we have to fill these in. So it is very time consuming. Third week of any month, we usually have a very heavy week where you'll have council meetings plus a lot of these other committee meetings that you're trying to prepare for. So I'd say a lot of us on our weekends, especially that third weekend, it's really you're spending most of that weekend just reading, highlighting, and getting ready so that you can understand what it is that'll be discussed at council or at the committee meeting, and then you can ask the right questions and challenge things that you may not agree with, and work in again, it's really towards democracy. Work with your peers to make the best decision for the city, respecting the views of others.
Now, do you have any time to enjoy? Or is there anything about anything about being on council that you enjoyed? If you could say one thing, or what's the thing you enjoy the most about being on council?
Interacting with our citizens, 100%. I love, and I'm not talking. I know we're expected sometimes to attend a gala or a fundraising event. I'm an introvert. These are not things I love doing. I do it because I want to show a presence of city leadership and that we're involved in listening. But when I go to the Flower Mill Garden and I see the work going on there, when I go to community parks and you see the community engagement, or even neighborhood yard sales, and you're talking to people, listening to their concerns, everything from a park bench not being painted that should have been done so for a long time ago, or issues with the road. So for me, I love that part of the job. It energizes me, and there are times, not maybe some of the viewers, but some citizens just reach out and they wonder, is it okay just to call and ask a questions or challenge on some? Yeah, I mean, that's part of the job. And again, I spent a couple evenings ago, I spent over an hour with two constituents that had separate issues, and there's so much mis and disinformation right now floating on so many topics. I can see why persons are getting frustrated. But just ask me. I believe in transparency. I have nothing to hide. There are times where, because of legal reasons, where we're not allowed to say something on a certain matter, and that's just the way it is. But on anything else, I'll just be open and honest, and I believe that that's true for most of my peers.
And that, I guess I had a certain order of questions, but I'm just going to take the liberty of not going in the order of my questions right now, because you bring up good point, is the transparency. It was just in Sudbury.com. I read that you put forward a motion, or you want to have the process of awarding contracts. You want to have an audit with that. Can you just explain why you've done that and what you're trying to accomplish through that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for asking that question. So, again, I worked in contracting before. I have a pretty good idea of how things work. So you're a contractor, you bid for work with a company. That company typically has a pre-qualification process, and they kind of look at you and say, you know what, for these reasons, we see some risk to us, so you cannot qualify. But should you qualify and you get across that line, in a public sector, so if the city puts a bid out for $100 million to do road work or to fix a building or bridge, anybody who crosses the line and pre-qualifies, now they put in a tender. The one who comes in with the lowest amount gets the job. That's the law. That's the way it's written. Now, when I was in mining, we didn't do that. Even if with pre-qual you cross the line, we would look at all the tenders. And if we saw any flags, we would not necessarily take the lowest qualification. I remember one of my mentors said, you take the highest bidder and the lowest bidder and you throw those out and you look what it's in the middle. And that's probably the one you want to work with. We can't do that. So with this motion, what I've asked the Auditor General is, can you look at our processes to make sure they're as tight as possible, especially on the pre-qualification, to make sure that those who qualify are of the quality and the level that we can trust to be able to do the work. Because we know once they get on that side, whoever's cheapest is getting the job. And hypothetically, if a bad player gets across somehow and gets the job, what's that risk to the taxpayer? What's that risk to the city? There are examples that are recent I'm not going to talk about, but we know that now there's costs to possibly rework. There could be pending legal issues. And it just adds up and it adds up. So although I don't believe the process is fair in saying we have to take the lowest bidder, that's the way it is. So let's do our absolute best to make sure only those who qualify get across. Second to that is managing persons who provide these services. You've crossed the line, you qualified, you got the work. how well do we do at making sure we performance manage them right through, and that we continue to have mechanisms in place to protect the city. I'm not suggesting the city's policies or procedures are flawed at all, but what I believe is appropriate is to go back and look at other municipalities at the best practices and make sure we're adopting those. The reason why now, well, we know that that we're on the table. We're looking at some possible significant renovations to Tom Davies Square to accommodate an arts center and library. We're talking about a downtown event center. We know we need major infrastructure work over the next few years. So for me, the time now, and speaking with the Auditor General, Mr. Foster, a couple days ago, it looks like they're going to, they already have kind of a workload semi-plan for next year. This is being bumped early into 2024, which I was really appreciative to hear about that.
Oh yeah, it brings up so many things. So yeah, so if you are wiser in awarding contracts in the first place, even though you're taking the lowest bid, you're not necessarily spending the least amount of money because of the what could happen after due to other aspects of this company. Maybe they don't do the greatest work, maybe they don't follow all the rules, maybe blah blah blah. So you got to have something else in place when you're awarding these contracts other than just the lowest bid. That should be part of the decision, but not the only thing, is what you're saying.
Exactly. And, maybe we should invest a little bit more in the
Mhm.
pre-qualification and maybe send people to go look at equipment and check out to see, again, in mining contractor, the company would say, well, who are you going to have come to the work job? Well, we'd send a list that looked like a wish list of our best employees. But the day we showed up at work, sometimes we had to divide all those workers to different contracts, right? Unfortunately, that's kind of the game you're playing to get the work. So I
Mhm.
think that if we could do a bit more on that kind of early duty of care, we should be able to mitigate any future potential frustrations or losses. Now, the process probably works well almost all the time, but that one occasion or two occasions where a bad player crossed the line could be very costly. And for me, I think the city is working hard to manage how we spend money, but here's, I think, an opportunity to make sure we put a little bit more effort to protect our taxpayers.
And that would be the gift that keeps on giving. If you can incorporate that into your processes, it'll always save you from having to spend these extra, on these extra things by awarding these contracts to companies that shouldn't have got them due to those other factors, other than just having the lowest bid. So I appreciate that. So I could go two ways. I can go the arena way or the current asphalt debacle that just happened with the company on the Kingsway that got the contract. They had this new innovative way to, just in one kind of motion, rip up the old asphalt. Something happens in the process. They add new asphalt to it. They put it down. They pack it down. Supposed to save money. Supposed to, save on resources and be more environmentally friendly and all this. So can you just explain what happened with this whole thing? And then the city came and said, we need to check the quality of the asphalt. All of a sudden, I don't know if they were so worried about quality of asphalt. In my history, it doesn't seem like the city has any caring about quality of asphalt before this, but all of a sudden they did. And so can you just kind of explain this whole thing to us, please, from your perspective?
Yeah, so you likely be disappointed with what I can share, but I'll share what's probably already public.
Sure.
But I'll try and share it in a format that's a little cleaner. Yeah, there's a technology called recycled asphalt. So a company shows up, they shave off a layer of asphalt, and it gets kind of a little bit of products re-added to it, and then they relay it and then roll it. And yeah, it is green as far as the approach, and I think it is a great technology we need to look at. There are some challenges. So forget Sudbury and this whole thing is the temperature of the asphalt when it gets into the system that gets it ready, and then when it gets put onto the ground has to be a certain temperature. It has to be within that range, or it's not being put down at the right temperature. It won't last, period. So that is one of the more important pieces to this. Now, in Northern Ontario, that's already a challenge for us because of the cooler weather. We happen to have an opportunity, though, in June where things were nice and hot and seemed to be ideal temperatures, as I understand it, to do this kind of work. This project was supposed to be started, I think it was in 2021. It was awarded. It was supposed to be started in 2021. There were delays after delays after delays, not on the city side, after delays for whatever reason. So now the work has started 2 years late into 2023. They begin the work, and it is a pilot, meaning at any time, if we feel that this isn't going right, we're going to pause it. So unlike people saying, well, they didn't pause this other jobs are awards. Go and pave this stretch of road. You made the pre-qualification. We have a length of history. I'm not saying that the quality of payment is always perfect. I'm not suggesting, but I'm saying we kind of know what we're getting. This is not the same. This is new to us. It's new in the Northern Ontario, and we need to understand it. So the city was closely monitoring this more than usual, and what they were seeing is some critical issues, and that's why they put a pause on it at some point. And was it the right decision or wrong decision? I don't know. I've actually driven to the location. I'm not an asphalt expert, but when I look at it was very apparent to me what work was done right away. I was like, okay, this is definitely what we're talking about. And not being an asphalt expert, something doesn't look right about the way it is now. Maybe if if they came back and did more work, I don't know, Aaron. It's not my area, but I know that the city made a decision that this isn't going well, so they paused it. They got an external company, which is not affiliated with the city, not affiliated with the project, to go and test the course, and they came back and said, it's not meeting any of our requirements. So sometimes asphalt is laid, that I agree with you. Only 5-6 years later, you see cracks and you're going like, what the hell? They just paved this. But I think this one here, there was a risk that it would just start to degrade and fall apart much sooner than that. And I mean, if pavement starts to deteriorate like that, you're talking about rocks flying into people's windshields. You're talking about then potholes forming really quickly, and that's a whole area of maintenance. So, not an expert in this, but that's how I understand it. And I think that when something like that happens, we got into a decision to do something pilot together. That the wronger thing is to run to the public and then kind of throw the city and the staff under the bus. I'm not okay with that at all. That just isn't right. And there may be times that I may not always agree with decisions of staff or how things are done, but you don't bully staff. You don't disparage staff in public ever. I just don't accept that. That's not okay. We're an employer, and we have, by law, we have to protect our employees from harassment, from bullying, from being slandered. That's by law, we have to. So I know there was a lot of comments on social about decisions by some senior members of staff. And like I said, I don't always agree with some decisions by senior members of staff, but in this one here, they had no choice by law but to, do things to protect their employees.
Very understandable. Now we talk about consultants and paying consultants for the arena, and we've paid consultants forever, and we watched Laurentian and what happened with that whole crash with paying consultants and consultants. Now, I do have a suggestion that of paying consultants would be good to get an actual road engineer consultant who knows how to build roads properly, and the city pays that consultant and says, okay, from now on, we build roads correctly, no matter what, because we know, just like you, I'm not an asphalt expert, but I'm becoming a front end alignment expert, hitting all the potholes all the time and stuff. And they say it's because of the temperatures, which I've heard experts say that's false, and it's because of the big trucks, which I've also heard experts say that's false as well. And one example of that is Van Horn Hill. You drive up the Van Horn Hill, and your car almost goes into a sinkhole type pothole, and it's that bad. No big trucks drive on the Van Horn Hill whatsoever. They can't. It's too, no big trucks are coming down that steep hill. So it's so bad that you'd eliminate the whole big truck thing. But that's just my suggestion, because I have you here and I can take the liberty. I would say that's one thing I think we could look into, is getting a consultant who knows what they're talking about. We're not experts, but I think that way the construction companies aren't taking advantage of us and getting the gravy train of the contracts all the time, because the roads deteriorate so fast, and then you got to give them another contract, and it's our taxpayers' money, and you want to be accountable, fiscally accountable. I think that's possibly one way. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you've given me something to think about here, actually. So I really, I'm appreciating this conversation and, some ideas, because it's not unique to Sudbury. Not to say we can't be the leaders in fixing it. I travel all northern roads. I'm from Northern Ontario. I'm from further north, and I travel through other northern cities. And I'm not going to embarrass them by mentioning them, but I mean, they're no they're no better than ours. They struggle with the quality of their roads. But I like the idea of you're suggesting is how can, we put in a control in place to make sure we're actually always getting the absolute best product, and that product is laid down the way it's supposed to be by best processes. So you've definitely given me something to think about on this one. Thank you.
Yeah, because I heard an expert talk about it at length on the show on CBC one time, and I think it was a university down south, anyways. And he was saying that's a myth that roads are, that you can't properly make a road for the conditions that we have in Northern Ontario with the weather and with the big trucks. And as long as they're built properly to standards, they will uphold. And the company that does them is supposed to give something like a 15-year warranty on their work. And if something happens with the road in the meantime, it's on their dime to fix it. And then that holds them accountable to making sure the road's done in the first place. So by giving a warranty for the work, it makes sure that the quality is there and that it's done properly. Anyways, I just think it hasn't really been looked at, and it's such a big thing. That's, already, that's a huge thing on people's. You could have almost ran for mayor on roads alone and got elected. You know what I'm saying?
As much as roads is a topic, it's very seasonal. And so far, in my experience, so this is what I think. It'd be almost 12 months that I've been in council, but the number one complaint is speeding. And I know I've heard on this
good
show. Good
segue, by the way. That was our next.
And people are telling me that's not true. I'm telling you right now, I have no reason to lie about this. I get so many calls, complaints, emails, messages. People are just frustrated with speeding and behaviors. And, I'm seeing people say, oh, the cameras, it's all part of this elaborate way to get to watch everything we do. We're not that evolved. We're not that savvy. The camera system is independent from the red light system. It's two different systems. They don't talk to each other. It's not connected to some mainframe downtown. The speeding cameras are going to be sending tickets to a company in Toronto who will have a police officer. I don't know if it's GSPS or their officer review and then approve, and then the tickets are issued. But it's just not the same as the red light system, which is again a different system that's tied into a different organization that issues that tickets. I have no interest in supporting things that are going to, impinge on our freedoms and stuff. But we have a right to live in a safe environment. That's a right. And
Cool.
That right is being infringed on by people who are driving too fast. People are driving carelessly. People are driving distracted. People are driving, while being impaired. They're impinging on a right. So a person saying, I should have a right to do 70 in a school zone. No, you don't. The school zone have little kids who can. And my wife works at a school, and she had a child run from them, unexpectedly towards the road. Now they were able to catch, but this is kids at a school. There are times things can happen. That's why the zone is a 40, and now in some of the new areas it's going to be a 30. What the hell are you in such a hurry about that you need to rip through a school zone at a higher speed? If you do the math of kilometers per second, you're saving seconds. That's it. So this arguing about saying I should be allowed to go 90 and a 60, no, you don't. The law is the law. It's a 60. I sometimes don't like it. When I worked at a mine in Onaping and they changed that limit from 80 to a 60, I can't explain how painful that was when you're on your fifth night shift and you just want to get home to bed. And they changed that speed limit. And I cursed and swore, but I put my cruise control on and I went home. And I think that we all need to work together using our cruise controls, working to slow down. If you look at the number of accidents happening on our streets, it's going up. I don't have the stats. I'm going to be looking to get some data on this, but just from what I'm lived experience, I'm seeing it more and more accidents. I work at the corner of Cedar in Paris, my full-time job. And from my office, I can see Cedar, and there is a camera there. There is a red light camera. And people, Aaron, there's no reason. I'm watching. The light is fully red. It's been red for 5-10 seconds. Drive right through.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't they seeing the red light? I saw a collision a couple of months ago. Person had the green light, so they're on Cedar. They're traveling in their green. The other vehicle ripped right through, smashed into the vehicle. And for some reason, the person traveling on Paris felt that they didn't do anything wrong. And then, the light was red. They didn't see it. So I'll pause there, but I'm a little emotional about this because I'm seeing a lot of comments that are just unfair. You don't have a right to speed. And
You're
I
no,
don't
you're
want
very
people getting
passionate.
tickets.
Yeah, no, it's true, and you're very passionate about it. You can tell, and you're the one who has to deal with the complaints, right? You're the one who has to
Absolutely.
deal with people constantly on you saying, "Why aren't you doing something about the speeding and things like that?" Now, as for and if you could get the stats on the accidents and things like that, because that is if I was to boil down the main concern, other than the data, where does the data go that's all on these cameras? To a private company, or this is an outside company that just takes all the data? The city, like you said, the city doesn't have a mainframe data, but it's going somewhere, and data is the new currency these days, right? Whoever has the
True.
most data and the most information. So, and people are worried about their data and security, and we do see breaches all the time, cyber whatever. So that's a whole separate thing, and it might be cool to look into that, obviously. But the main thing that I saw it boil down to, is it for safety or for monetary, right? And you probably saw the same thing out there. There was a lot of people saying, what are the stats? And I appreciate, and I would like you to come back with some stats saying that there is a reason for these cameras due to the statistics that show that somebody going 50 in a 40 is causing accidents, and we can see that by the stats that people are getting harmed, and there's a need to have the safety protocol put in place, right? Other than that, it's just going to be looking like a cash grab. If there's been no real stats that show that there's more accidents or that there's any injuries, we can see drinking and driving, obviously. That's a whole separate thing altogether. That has nothing to do with cameras. Drinking and driving is a whole separate issue. And you could speed, obviously, drinking and driving, but that's a whole other thing.
When we
So that,
talk
I'd
about the
appreciate that.
stats, though, I just want to
Hmm.
interject on that.
Yeah.
When you have people, and this is where the most of the concerns are coming from, you have people living in neighborhoods with no sidewalks, narrow streets, and they just want to walk their dog. They want to take their kids out on their bikes, and they're not feeling safe because people want to drive fast. That's what I'm talking about. So,
Yeah.
yeah, some motor vehicle collisions cause damages to vehicles. That's a shame. But again, we're impinging on the rights of people to live free, to live in a healthy and safe community because somebody wants to drive faster. Let's think about this for a second. I want to drive fast to get home so I can sit on my couch and turn on my TV. There's no justification. I need to drive fast because I got up late and I'm going to be late for work. And I so now I'm getting, and I'm not saying just a few, a lot of people saying I don't feel safe going for a walk anymore. And so I can't measure that through data, but this is real. And this is why it wasn't just the city staff that pushed for the cameras, it was counselors, because we're getting so many calls that we're trying to find a way to deal with. As far as the cash grab, there's no cash grab. We're expected to bring in about $1 million. Most of that money will help pay for the technology and pay for the services. Some of the money that's left over, Councillor McIntosh brought in a case that says we're going to take that money and put it towards more traffic calming measures. It's not going to be, oh, we got all this money, let's go shopping and do some great things. That's not what's going to happen. The money coming in is going to be used in a way to help deal with the problem. So there is no cash grab. And if people just don't speed, we won't make any cash, which is be ideal. I'd love nothing less than a reason to say we don't need the cameras anymore. I don't like having cameras out there that, can create the perception that we're impinging on people's freedoms and personal lives. I would love nothing less than for us to calm this problem down and remove the cameras. With respect to the argument, we need more police enforcement. You don't get a disagreement from me. But if you look at the cost of police services, the number one item on our tax levy is police services. Due to the number of crime and the number of issues we're seeing as we see more homelessness and more addictions issues, the police services are tapped out. And I'm not faulting them. I speak to them, I talk to them, they're trying their best. They don't have the time to do traffic enforcement that they used to. Are we looking to still try for more enforcement? Yes, we did approve the budget, which supported 10 new officers. That takes 12 to 18 months. But because of the new types of crimes, the new types of environment that they work in, we're seeing more PTSD. We're seeing police officers suffer from other physical harm. So we have more police officers now off for very legitimate reasons than we did in the past as well. So it's a complex issue, and we're trying our best. So we're looking at traffic calming measures, some things like photo radar, which I'm not a fan of either, but I don't know what else we can do to try and get this to calm down. And then we're also looking at some increase in police enforcement.
And that's what I was thinking too. A way to really combat this is just go on a campaign of, hey, if you really feel the city is out there to make money, the greatest thing you can do is to not give them any money, is just to nobody speed, and then it's on the city to have the $1 million expense. And then if you really wanted them to have egg on their face, then they'd have to say, well, we never made any money off this, and now it's an expense. But like
Perfect.
you said, that would be good, because then it would solve the problem. But again, if there's only 6 areas in the city, there's more than 6 areas that are probably problemsome, more than 6 areas that don't have sidewalks on the streets that people take their dogs for walks and things like that. And so sure, in these areas, and you were commenting on one of the shows, you said there's going to be enough signage there for people to be informed when they come into these areas. And so how is it going to help speeding in the other areas of the city?
We're going to keep moving the cameras every 4 months. So 6 areas, then you have 12 areas and 18 areas and 24 areas. And so we're going to keep moving the cameras every 4 months. And again, the idea is that, look, when I moved to Sudbury in 1994, you did not speed from Sudbury to the valley. There was so much enforcement that everybody coming through McRae Heights was doing 65, 68. That was it. There was a threshold of probably around 70, 75, and you got pulled over. Now, when you leave LaSalle Notre Dame, it's like one of those race car things where beep, 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 and everybody just takes off. And you're looking at, soccer moms and, seniors and everybody. We're all doing it. So I'm not saying it's select few. Culturally, we're all driving faster. And that's because enforcement became less available. And we said, well, I can go a little bit faster. No consequence. I can go a little bit faster. So what we're looking to do is trying to slow things down for everybody to a point where we get used to, I used to be able to say, 25 over was okay. That's no longer. And that we kind of use our cruise control, slow down a little bit. It's not going to impact our lives by getting our speed under control at all. What it will do is create a better environment for people to be able to feel like they can walk their dogs, go out with their kids on their bikes, and take advantage of, the 6 months we have where there's nicer weather, and be outside with doing other things.
Another thing too, getting around, like I used to own a rush delivery service, right? So this kind of subject is near and dear to my heart, because we were busy at the busiest times, and we were the precursor to Skip the Dishes or Uber Eats or anything like that. We started in 1999. And so we were busy during the lunch rush and the supper rush. That's when we had to get to where we were going. And, in the city, I think they're doing something with the timing of the lights now to make it a little easier. At least it used to be stop at every red light that there is. You can't get around without stop. Good for the gas companies and taxes, the carbon tax, and because it costs more money to drive, and good for the companies that install brakes and things like that. But I mean, flow in general, like, you don't need to speed, but we also need to be considering traffic flow for economical reasons and just sanity reasons. And it just seems the city's doing construction too. The city's doing construction. Construction takes way too long, by the way. It's just my opinion. So, so there's construction there. So I'm going to take an alternate route. And then there's construction on the alternate route too. And it's like, wait a minute, who's planning this stuff? Like, is there anybody who considers traffic flow, or is it all just, how can we, stop our citizens from speeding? Because sometimes you got a meeting you got to get to, and you don't even need to speed, but you need to get where you're going. So you need traffic flow. Is that considered at all?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'd actually talked to the GM about this, because again, I work downtown. So when I leave the valley, I'm getting it on Notre Dame and I'm getting it on the way home. And sometimes I sit there like, oh, I'm tired. I just want to get home and I'm not moving. And then we have 3 lanes merging into 1 lane and it's painful and people are getting upset at each other because they don't understand the zipper laning thing, which is a whole other show. But we have a season. We have about 6 months. That's it to get things done. We have a long list of projects. Sometimes they're tied to other funding from other governments, and we have to get things done. So in this case here, I would say this year is probably closer to more of a perfect storm that we're doing the work at the Fruit LaSalle area, that we're doing work on Notre Dame and the Kingsway Barry down. So I think it's a bit of a perfect storm. I don't think it's the normal in the city. Yeah, there's always going to be construction. There needs to maintain our infrastructure. But I think this year is a little bit more anomalous. As frustrating as it is here, I was downtown Toronto this summer and I'm never driving downtown Toronto again. That was a whole new level of frustration. I mean, I was just as close to leave my vehicle there and walk away because I couldn't get anywhere at all. So yeah, it is a little frustrating here, but we're weeks away from this going away. So I'm looking for those on who are viewing the show or listening to the show to be a little bit patient. We're almost there, and then we'll have new things to be unhappy about, like snow removal and sidewalks and other things for you and I talk about in future shows.
So you've been a year and we're already starting to see some pessimism in your verbiage there, which is funny on some levels, right? And it's normal. Like, was there a honeymoon phase that you went through after being elected, or was it right to work? Or are you still in the somewhat honeymoon phase?
That's right. We came into budget season and they dump a 650-page binder. There's your budget, and we're going to talk about it in a couple weeks. And so it was a lot, and you can't find the opportunity for what I call efficiencies in the budget, which was problematic. So we've done a couple things. We've asked that we get. Like I said earlier, I put a motion a couple of months ago that was supported unanimously, that we look at the 58 lines of service, what we get for that, and what have those increases been in the last 4 years. I think it's going to be really helpful, because if they're all social costs, costs because of homeless, costs because of the opiates, then we need to go take that information, go to the province and say, hey, look, our city's taxes or our tax levy keeps getting impacted by a responsibility of the provincial government. So I think we need that data to make that argument. The second part to this is when it comes to efficiencies, the more recent update we received said, we're looking at doing a number of things, including service levels and user fees. There was no word of efficiency, which I got pretty upset about. So a motion's coming on at the next council meeting that's basically directing staff to come back with where they're going to look for efficiencies. And I think there's what I'm hearing from other councils, a bit of a disconnect. Some of the frontline workers and supervisors and managers within the city, they know where the efficiencies are, but they're not really being tasked to come up with ideas or share ideas. And so we're going to be a little bit pushy about that this time around.
Yeah, and I think rightfully so. I just think it's just responsible government to be fiscally responsible. And your idea about doing an audit with the process of awarding contracts, procurement, uh, what are the odds? Now you talk about transparency as well, and I think the city should. And this was an election issue, and a lot of people were calling for an audit of the city, because that's the way you find efficiencies, right? Or could. It's one way, like you're doing with the procurement audit. What is where do you stand on the idea of doing an audit on the city and that being a way to find efficiencies?
So we do. We have our own auditor general, which a lot of cities don't have, and the auditor general reports to the mayor and council. So we're always auditing. We're always auditing process. We give direction as to where we want to audit, and Mr. Foster is very good at his job. So he's actually tasked all year with a small team to go and do all of these audits. I don't see any value in going to pay a lot of money for somebody else to come and do what he's already doing. That's his job. So either we eliminate that department and decide we just do these one-offs once in a while, or we take advantage of having our own auditor general that we can use to look at all of the different service levels or areas we have concern or something that didn't go well, and use that team. So again, when before being elected, I probably shared that view. Now that I understand internally the controls and the protections we have, I'm less concerned about that. It's a corporation with 2,400 employees, a total budget of coming up to almost $800 million. Having somebody from the outside come and say, "I want to do an audit." How long would it take for them to actually go through all the departments and all the costs? But here we have an opportunity with our own Auditor General to just keep doing it piece by piece by piece and reporting back to us, looking for those opportunities. But I do think there is a mechanism in place that engages the frontline team members more to help build into where there are possible efficiencies or opportunities for savings for the taxpayers, for the corporation. With respect to the audit, I'm going to give a bit of a kudos here to the CAO. It was a discussion that he and I had that led to that motion. So this wasn't just on my own an idea. The CEO actually contributed to the idea. He said, maybe we should look at this. And I said, okay, we can put together more. He helped me craft this. So I know sometimes he's he's thrown under the bus for some reason. That's what happens when you take that most senior top job in any municipality. But in this case here, it was actually working with him that we came up with the idea of the motion for the audit. And, he helped build what we should include in that audit so we can look at the processes and make sure we have the best controls in place.
Yeah. So instead of doing a complete audit of every department at every level, you're focusing in on one. And I think it's an important one because the city, how many contracts does the city award in any given year, right? To
absolutely
companies. So that would solve a lot of problems right there. And I really, my hat's off to you for doing that. When I saw that article, I was like, yeah, that's cool. And speaking of that and other things that are going on in council, I know Natalie reached out to me the other night and proposed that maybe we can have something on a more regular basis, like after a big meeting or whatever, that either yourself or Natalie or both can then join us and kind of put into layman's terms, basically what just happened in council and keep everybody kind of informed. Am I on the right track with that analogy? Or that understanding?
Yeah, I want transparency. I want real information, and I'll tell you the truth. I'm not gonna lie. If there are things I can't tell you, I'll tell you that too. I said that earlier in the show. So if we come on this show and we're asked questions, I answer the toughest questions to the best of my ability. I'm not perfect, and I may miss details, or there's, like I said, so much information coming at us. But I will share with you what I know and what I'm allowed to share. So if you want us to come in on this show a little bit more regularly, if I can fit this into my schedule, absolutely. This is why I ran for office, so that we can advocate for, represent our constituents in city chambers, and then come back and communicate and share what we've learned and listen for some feedback on the decisions we made. There are going to be some divisive topics coming. We talk about an arena, or it's going to happen. Oh, we shouldn't build one at all. We should only build a new one. We should only renovate. There are going to be three different groups that are going to form here, and I'm trying hard to get as much objective information before forming a true decision. Earlier question, I'm leaning towards renovation because I don't believe new is affordable. I believe we have so many competing priorities that I can't fathom how we could justify spending over $200 million for a facility that maybe 12-15% of our population use. But perhaps if we work with private-public partnerships, perhaps if there's other pieces that come together that make it affordable for the taxpayer, then maybe that changes things. That's the reason a councillor should not form an early absolute decision. They should remain objective until the last moment, and then once they have all the information, it's been debated from all sides, and they've heard from their constituents, then they form a decision, and that decision goes to how they vote on certain matters.
Well, I really like where you're coming from, Mike, and I think our listeners and viewers do as well. And I think that's the purpose of having you come on here. And it does help the city and their public relations, I think, a lot, too, to hear someone who's there and has the lowdown and is able to articulate it in as good of a way as you are able to do as well. So thanks for being on today. And we will have you and Natalie come on a more regular basis because I think it's needed. It's needed for the city. I really do. I think it's needed for informing people and having them feel, a part of what's going on and in the know, basically, and understand why things are happening the way that they are and have their say heard. You know what I mean? Because you're able to speak directly to them and answer the questions. And I appreciate
the opportunity.
No problem. You'll be able to go back. I've put done my best to get all the comments up on the screen here. So if you were to go back and watch the video, and you might have missed something because it's really, I don't know if you find it hard. I find it hard to read every single comment as we're having a conversation. But anyways, getting better at it. So you're able to go back, and if there's something you see in there that, is helpful, or you may, maybe address at a future time, then we'll be able to do that. But thanks. We'll have you on sooner than later.
Thank you. I wish everybody a great day and a great weekend.
Yeah. Have a great weekend, Mike.
Okay.
Thanks
Bye for
again,
now.
man. Okay. Take care. Ciao. So that was Mike Perrant. He's the counselor, Ward 5 counselor here in Sudbury. Grateful to have him on. We've had him on a couple of times before, and obviously we'll have him on again. So thanks, everyone, for your comments. And I know there's a lot of questions there. I'm going to be going back through and looking through them. Next time we have a conversation, this won't be the only crack at the bat, so to speak. Natalie Labby will be on possibly next week or sooner than later, and we'll be able to ask her questions as well. And so we appreciate them being forthcoming and have a conversation with them. And I hope you appreciate that as much as I do. So we'll be back same time, same place Monday, and hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. Ciao, everyone.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.